what are the goals of this Energy Datapalooza? It's essentially that we have now gobs of data in ways that we never could get before. And then the question is, can we use this data to spur new businesses, and in particular spur new businesses that can help in our prosperity, save money, save energy, both utility bills and at the gasoline pumps. And it also would enable people to develop ways to build new products and services. But instead of talking in generalities, I want to actually go to some specific things. Heather mentioned the Green Button Initiative. Already, with this Green Button Initiative, we're seeing utility companies allow you to have an app, like an iPhone app, or I guess to be fair, you should say it could also be a Galaxy app or a BlackBerry app. But in any case, let's say you've gone away for a week and you want to check, did you turn down your thermostat? Hopefully when you go away for a week, you do turn down your thermostat or make it neutral. And so if it's hot, you let the temperature float up. If it's very cold, you let the temperature float down. Well, when you're coming back, it will take a couple of hours. So to get the house reconditioned again, you don't know exactly when you're coming back. You call up your home and your thermostat and say, I'm coming back, warm it up please, or cool it down please. Or this happens with my wife, we're leaving, did you set the alarm? No, I don't know the alarm. Did you set it? We have to go back and she has to worry about setting her security alarm. In any case, again, iPhone apps can talk to your house in this way. There are other apps like this, but I think I'm going to tell you a little bit about a whole class of apps that grew out of the global positioning satellite system. That's very near and dear to my heart for two reasons. Probably everyone in this room knows about the global positioning satellite. Fewer number of people actually know how it works. But essentially, it's a set of satellites with very, very accurate atomic clocks. And as the satellites pass overhead, the timing signals as the clock goes overhead and the shifts in frequency allow you to essentially triangulate, but you have 3 or 4 or 5 satellites in your view, and find out where you are to a very high degree of accuracy. If you sit there and average enough, you can find out where you are to less than a centimeter. You don't really care to know where you are to less than a centimeter, but certainly meter it matters. Otherwise, you can measure things changing, let's say, your waistline to less than a centimeter. So anyway, so we know all about this. It was initiated by the Defense Department in the late 70s, and it has had a profound impact on how we navigate around the world, whether it's airplanes, which is a huge backup system to the radar, in fact, even more accurate, to all vehicles, automobiles, ships, tractors, enables tractors. Most of the modern tractors have some sort of GPS. It enables them to plow straight lines, but much more importantly than that, it actually enables them to put fertilizer where it's needed, because you will have different places where you can know that over in this part of my field, I need more fertilizer, and that part of my field I don't. So the spreading of pesticides, fertilizers, things of that nature are now global positioning satellite apps. It allows us to track deforestation. It allows us to track the migration of endangered species. It enables search and rescue people to go find people. It enables you to locate trains. We've had a big accident in the DC metropolitan area because of a system where it lost where the train was. When I was in the Bay Area, the BART trains lost track of where they were and they had to redo the system. Now with the GPS satellite, you'll actually know where the train is to a meter. So all the old technologies are no longer needed. Hikers use it for their trails, so they don't get lost anymore. They no longer have to take those horrible topo maps that cost a lot and only last one hike. Golfers use it to find out how many yards it is to the hole. Fishermen use it to find their favorite secret fishing spots. They actually use GPS to measure how tectonic plates move. Typically, the tectonic plates move about 1 centimeter or 5 a year, depending on how active the fault is. And you can actually, with GPS now, see how it's moving with a resolution of comparable to that. And what's astounding, we don't know whether this is true or not, well, we know it's true, but we don't know whether it's going to actually be an application, is in the last very serious earthquake in Japan, a researcher discovered that the very precise timing signals that were coming from the GPS had a little glitch in it. Now, as the satellite passes overhead, you look at the apparent delay of the timing signal. This is a very, very accurate atomic clock, something very near and dear to my heart because part of my Nobel Prize was making atomic clocks better. So as the clock goes overhead, the time delay changes in a very smooth way. And what they noticed, this person noticed as the satellite was going overhead, there was a little glitch in the timing, an unexplained delay in the satellites going overhead near the big earthquake. And he said, ooh, let's look at other earthquakes. Ooh, this seems to be the same. Very exciting, because there's about an hour precursor of a timing glitch that grows and grows and grows. And so if this turns out to be true, completely unexpected application, the fact that we have all these GPS receivers, and all they have to do is look at this smooth curve, and if you see a departure of this nature beyond the smooth curve, you may have an earthquake detection. They may give you a half an hour. So this is another new business, potentially. Of course, you don't want false positives. People ducking cover when there's not that, but it's one of those things. Let me tell you about another, Heather mentioned data and how data can help you make better decisions. Some of the things, for example, we think and know and believe that if you do the right work on your home or your buildings, commercial buildings, those investments can pay back in a very short period of time. I'm talking now about retrofitting. But we don't really have a ton of data about exactly what works and what doesn't work. And so if you're running a business or if you're at home, you would like to know, if I spend X dollars to do ceiling and ductwork and air conditioning and new HVAC systems, things like that, when will I really expect to get a payback? Typically, if you go out on the web, you say, estimated cost of savings, okay? Well, if you're a business, that doesn't really impress the banks as much as, here's a data set, if you do this, this, and this is what your return on your capital will be in the next 5 or 10 years. So again, something like that, the collection of a data set, and this is something the Department of Energy is beginning to do. 4 years ago, or 3.5 years ago, I found out we had very little data of what's the baseline, what was the energy consumption before the retrofit, what did you do, how much did you spend, what was it after? Real energy data, not estimates. And I think that would go a long way. But let me talk about, let's see, another app. We now have GPS in our cars, most of us, or many of us. Some of the smarter GPSs will take, it's around 5 or 6 o'clock. This freeway is usually jammed. So they'll tell you when it gives you shortest route, it begins to fold in time of day, average use of traffic. I see a time when the newer GPSs will actually give you actual traffic on that day, in that minute. How do you do that? Well, we have a lot of things that broadcast. There are Wi-Fi things that we hold in our pockets, our iPads, or phones, everything. You go to a Wi-Fi area, let's say it's in a Starbucks or something, and then there's a little talking back and forth, and someone in your thing asks you, do you want to connect? Well, you don't have to say, I want to connect or anything, but there's information going back and forth. And with that type of information, and you can see it moving, you can actually know how many vehicles there are and how fast they're moving. And you can distinguish that from walking, because in many places, walkers don't walk quite as fast as drivers, except in certain rush hour areas. But anyway, one can distinguish that. And so then you can have the ability, it's a business waiting to be founded, but an ability to actually give you what the real lowest time thing is, to avoid traffic jam. Also very good for police. If all of a sudden the traffic has massively stopped, they can know very quickly that there might be something going on. Again, it's data that enables you to really do things better. And finally, there was another app that that I heard about, and I actually went into it and started getting really interested. So I'm offering this. This is an emerging market. I offer it free of charge. I'm not allowed to charge anything. Right now, solar PV is getting less and less expensive to install, both on a commercial rooftop, on land, and also on your homes. It's roughly about $5 a watt, fully installed cost. So I went to one of these apps on Sunday and said, well, okay, what I typically use is about, what my wife and I use is about 600 kilowatt hours per month, or 20 kilowatt hours per day. That's what we were using, what's actually what we use in DC. It would be less in a place like Palo Alto where we don't use air conditioning. But that means there's a monthly electricity bill of about $80. How large a photovoltaic system would I have to install if I wanted 60% of my electricity bill covered with that? So there's all these apps and solar thing calculators out there, and they tell you, and you can put in various changes. Maybe it costs $6, maybe it costs $4 per watt installation. And so there's another app that says, well, you know, the cost of batteries is going down, perhaps as rapidly or even more rapidly than the cost of PV. And there's going to be a race. So if you have a battery, then you don't need as much PV. And so where's the trade-off? And as you watch the prices of both of these fall, what's the best thing? So the good news is, I mean, we have in the Department of Energy a program that's helping industry achieve $2 a watt installed on your home rooftop. $2 a watt means that the cost of electricity from your solar rooftop will be, in many parts of the United States, less than what you pay down today at retail. Okay? So that's the magic number. Less than, let's say, on the order of 10 cents, 11 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, if you had a battery, all of a sudden, you can go way down into this. You don't have to install as big solar module, and you have a buffer. And so I did a little calculation. I used some prices that I happen to know about what the cost of batteries are today. The manufacturing costs, you're going to have to add a little more to that. But in some of the electric vehicles today, it's about, I'll use range of numbers, $600 to $300 per kilowatt hour storage. And they're going to go down. And it turns out that if you get a battery that can, I just did a little calculation, a 6 kilowatt hour battery, instead of generating 12 kilowatts, you don't have kilowatt hours per day, you can generate far less. And it turns out that that modest battery actually dramatically lowers the PV by about 30%, but it gives you something more. It gives you some insurance in the sense that what can you do with 6 kilowatt hours per day? You can do a lot. Consider a blackout. Now, since I've come to Washington, I've been in 4 blackouts. Some of them, I hope no one can protect those here. It's not a slam against you. Just a fact. Some of them for 4 or 5 days. And the last one got me to the point where I spent $2,000 on a generator for the next blackout. If you had a solar module in your home that's 1.5 kilowatts, and you had this smallish battery that could cost a couple $1,000, same as the generator. Now, when you're in a blackout situation, what do you want? You want some lights. If it's hot, you want a fan. You can't run an air conditioner if you're on a battery, unless it's a small one. You want your refrigerator to continue. Okay? That was my major upset, is all my food was going to rot. A refrigerator takes 40 watts. If you have compact fluorescent light bulbs, you're talking 30 or 40 watts. Okay? You don't need more than about 200 watts to keep most of the comforts of your home going. Right? So if you have solar, that's a very modest solar battery, you actually can have all of that, and you can drive a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle about 25 miles a day. Okay. If you're completely cut off from your electricity power source, you have this modest battery, and you're not going to use your EV or plug-in EV for that battery because you avoid a warranty. But you have this other one in your home, which will do this. All of a sudden, you can power yourself in your home, limping along for indefinite if it's in the summer. Okay. Now, if you get a blackout during a hurricane, it doesn't quite work so well. But you actually have a couple of days. All right. So my last business venture is, why not sell solar with a battery? And should you get a blackout, this is a good deal for at least a couple of days, and maybe if it's in the hot summer months, at least a couple of months. I did the calculation for Palo Alto, just because I used to live there for many years, so it's a little sunny place. The hurricanes might, every 100 years, get an earthquake. But in any case, this is information that you can use to make good decisions, and quite candidly, it's stuff. I hope I give you a feel for it, of all the information you can use to help save energy, save money, and fundamentally, for the rest of you, lots of new businesses out there that can take advantage of this new data. It's like the blue button having to do with health, the green button having to do with energy. Huge opportunities. And then I can go on and on about all the new businesses that we give us. But then you think of all the other things that we have and all the information we're traveling about. It's a very exciting time. And I hope some of you are starting some of these businesses. Thank you. I don't know what